Hey, ladies and gentlemen, do you all remember the time when the tolerant lefties once called you a xenophobe, racist, and a fascist because you want out of the European Union? And the same tolerant leftists who will call anybody who disagrees with them a racist. But it turns out that these tolerant lefties are the same people who now support Jeremy Corbyn of the UK Labour Party. Jeremy Corbyn. He's the same man who was mourning over the death of Jihadi John, an Islamic fascist extremist who decapitated James Foley and many other innocents, and of course the entire ISIS slaughtering many innocent people in Iraq and Syria, such as Christians and other innocents. And of and to top it all off, he supports Hezbollah. This is extreme hypocrisy coming from the left, considering the fact that these are the same ones who once said that Lee Rigby deserved death and was a coward and a murderer, the same people who called our troops terrorists and murderers, and while claiming that you or anybody who doesn't agree with their pathetic and failed philosophies is a Nazi, despite the fact that they are supporting Nazis from the Middle East who would have allied themselves with Hitler in their annihilation against the Jews, or as the left will call them, Zionists, and maybe even the Christians, which has always been the leftist dream. Now another topic I wanted to discuss with you guys is a Missouri University in which the Black Lives Matter crowd and of course the university were in a study hall, like in a library or something, trying to spread awareness for the Black Lives Matter movement, but they were caught saying racist things such as "fuck you, you filthy white fucks, fuck you and your comfort, and fuck you racist shits." And then somebody ended up calling somebody a white bitch. Not to mention writing hashtag fuck Paris all over social media as well. Could it be that some Islamic terrorists have infiltrated the group and are now using the race-baiting Black Lives Matter movement to slaughter white Americans and white Europeans? This can also be a perfect opportunity for the Muslim extremists to slaughter the police officers in case if they ever wanted to invade. And as much as you would accuse me of being a conspiracy theorist, but all of America's enemies' dreams isn't just to kill our military, but to kill every single one of us, and that includes our police officers. Many airports and places where you have to go through security check in general, a lot of times the security guards would be afraid of checking a Muslim out of the fear of being called a racist or Islamophobe. And now this will give all the Islamic extremists a free pass to commit acts of terror. Hell, the police are even now afraid of arresting ethnic minorities and are afraid of going over to somebody's house when you call them because they think that you're gonna kill them. In fact, the Islamic extremists are using people on the left to make the nation more vulnerable, considering the fact that most leftists have been apologists for Islamofascism, especially if you keep up with the Young Turks or any left-wing YouTube channel. But instead of making it obvious that they are infiltrating the movement, they allow the leftists to spread propaganda for them by presenting the police officers as racist white supremacists who not only bully black people and other ethnic minorities, but it can lead to them presenting the police officers as racist and Islamophobic scumbags who bully Muslims, and eventually it will lead to the police officers being afraid of going after any Muslim criminal or going after anyone who's a Muslim out of the fear of being called racist, Islamophobic, xenophobic. Many airports and places where you have to go through security check in general, a lot of times the security guards would be afraid of checking a Muslim out of the fear of being called a racist or Islamophobe. And now this will give all the Islamic extremists a free a free pass to commit acts of terror. Hell, the police are even now afraid of arresting ethnic minorities and are afraid of going over to somebody's house when you call them because they think that you're gonna kill them.
Black Lives Matter protesters curse at white Dartmouth students. A Black Lives Matter protest at Dartmouth University in Hanover, New Hampshire, turned ugly on Thursday when the demonstrators stormed the Baker Berry Library and screamed racially charged insults at students who were trying to get their study on. The protest was put on to bring attention to discrimination on Dartmouth's campus and the fact that a Black Lives Matter t-shirt display was torn down last week.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
The demonstration started peacefully before moving to the library, where things got pretty heated. According to eyewitness reports, the protesters marched into the library and accosted students who didn't join their marching and chanting.
Black Lives Matter! Do you think Black Lives Matter?
Riled up protesters reportedly said things like, "You filthy white f***s, you and your comfort," and called one student a filthy white bitch to her face. They reportedly told students who didn't join them to stand up, calling them a filthy, racist white piece of
Black Lives Matter! 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 Black Lives Matter!
One student who was studying in a private room was harassed when she tried to shut out the protesters. After the harassment reportedly made one female student cry, the protesters said, "Your white tears." Netizens on Twitter have responded to the controversial demonstration, including Elijah R., who wrote, "These black students are out of control," yelling at students in the library who are actually trying to study. Then there's Matthew Ricks, who tweeted, "So Black Lives Matter holds a protest in a library. For most of them, it was the first time in a library," followed by the hashtag #KeepItClassyBLM. Twitter user Sam White gave the demonstrators the benefit of the doubt, writing, "Accusations against Dartmouth protesters doesn't match the video at all." Okay, well, maybe a little.
Like this video? Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter.
Good job, Black Lives Matter. You have interrupted kids in a study hall and disturbed peace. Congratulations for being the Black KKK. If you guys all noticed the crowd of white people in the Black Lives Matter group, which I assume could have been their liberal allies, that can also be their anti-white Nazi agitators and the little Tumblr worshipping social justice warriors who claim to be anti-racist, but have the belief that the white race is the only evil race. Now, VladiVostok3701 talked about this on his video on reverse racism, and you guys have also seen my video, The War on White People, where I talked about the goals and aims of the Communist Party in the US, China, and in Russia, which was to provoke as much minority resentment against the majority and use minorities as a tool to destabilize society. You guys have also seen Rocky Mr. E's video, Obama's Race Baiting America, which shows how Obama race baits and always causes all this racial tension, which is why the US is now more racially divided than usual, along with members of the Democratic Party who have also tried to divide us even during Jim Crow. They have always tried to divide us. But anyway, about that Black Lives Matter crowd, they are not doing a good job in bringing an egalitarian society, as the left always dream of, by attacking people racially and being in bed with the liberal Democratic politicians who have put you all in that spot. You're you're doing the exact opposite of what the real civil rights would have done, which was peaceful protest and solidarity against racism, bigotry, and prejudice, and maybe police brutality. Instead, the Black Lives Matter movement has reduced itself as becoming a tool to the left wing and reduced itself for being a puppet and a bunch of terrorist supporters who protest over thugs who beat up and attack police officers, and they protest for thugs who beat up police officers, who beat up people and kill their own kind, and gang members who give a bad image to the black community. They attack people that can be their allies in solidarity instead of attacking the actual white supremacists, the politicians and statists who carry out these acts, or the actual police officers who commit the acts of police brutality. They attack the cops that were doing their jobs, defending themselves, innocent white people who don't carry out the acts of white supremacy or nationalism, and others' innocence. To the blame for this, the Democratic Party, social justice warriors, the Communist Party USA, and other politicians like Corbyn and Bernie Sanders. And now because of the politically correct fascists, we are now going to have more racial violence and more attacks from jihadists. Just like in Paris. Now, if you like this video, subscribe. Feel free to watch more videos from me.